You are making the world a better place by listening to the Joy of Living podcast. This is your guide to achieving a more purposeful, powerful, and positive life. Join Barry Shore in unlocking the best version of you and becoming happier, healthier, and wealthier. And now, here's your ambassador of joy, Barry Shore.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking, so always looking for and finding the good. We have good in abundance. You're just going to be mesmerized today, energized by our amazing guest, a dear friend of mine. I've known him since he's 3 years old. His name is David Abehsera, and we're going to have a lot of fun talking about business, solving problems, and creating opportunity, because that's really what he does. And that's why I asked him to share with you. So that's what this show is all about. You're listening to The Joy of Living with your humble host, Barry Shore. And you tuned into this podcast for one reason and one reason only. And it's the best reason in the whole wide world, because you care the most in the entire world about you. Y-O-U. And that's really the best reason of all, because when you're the best you make the world a better place. You build more bridges of harmony, you create more joy, happiness, peace, and love in the world. And that's really the reason for being alive, isn't it? Now, in this show, we speak about the three fundamentals of life. And when you work with these three fundamentals of life, you become happier, healthier, and wealthier. Who doesn't want that? And of course, everybody around the world is tuning in right now. You're happy to tell you that over 348,613 people around the world are listening at this very moment. And what we're going to do is, as I do in every show, I'm asking you to share this show with 5 people, just 5, so that we'll touch 1.5 million people, and just keep inviting more friends and family to come on, so that, God willing, by this time next year, we'll have 1 million people listening every week. Now we have hundreds of thousands. By the time David comes on, we'll have over 360,000 people. So let's talk about the three fundamentals of life. They are, number one, life. Your life has purpose. And when you lead a purpose-driven life, number 2 happens. Now, in this case, it's a good number 2. You go MAD. Now, MAD is a wonderful acronym that stands for make a difference. You lead a purpose-driven life. You make a difference in the world. And the third fundamental is to uncover the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. Simplest example, right now, this podcast is being carried over the internet around the world, of course. If you ask anybody, what does www stand for? Invariably, it has to do with the internet. Now, factually speaking, they're correct. But in our world, the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, www stands for what a wonderful world. And of course, whenever you hear the opening bars of that song, what a wonderful world, you think of Louis Armstrong, Satchmo, thank you. And know that that song has not just touched tens of millions, of hundreds of millions, but billions of people around the planet. And what's the first thing you do when you hear that song, what a wonderful world? You smile. You can't help but do it. Now, smile is one of the most important words that you can internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life, because SMILE is a great acronym that stands for seeing miracles in life every day. That's it, seeing miracles in life every day. Now, I'm doing personal appearances again. Recently, I spoke to a group of 1,176 people, and there was a lot of hugging, a lot of energy in the room and such like that. And I'm telling the story about Barry Shore, and I'm talking about seeing miracles in life every day. And people are raising their hands and say, hey, Barry Shore, I've been up for hours already. I haven't seen any miracles. And I asked them, are you here? Can you hear? Can you stand still? I can't do that. Can you walk? I can barely do that. Do you have water to drink? Do you have food to eat? Do you have a place to sleep? Do you have family? Do you have friends? Every single one of those is a miracle. And what's the proof? Simplest proof. 1 million people didn't get out of bed this morning. You know why? They died. By definition, if you're watching or you're listening to this, you are alive. And if we have an obligation to live life fully, to exuberantly. Let me tell you a quick story. Imagine, if you can, standing up in the morning, hale and hearty, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, and that evening being in the hospital, totally, completely paralyzed, my necked out. And it was not an automobile accident, not a spinal injury, a rare disease, which I never heard of the day before, took over my body and rendered me what's called a quadriplegic. Nothing in my body moved. I can only communicate by blinking my eyes. 144 days in the hospital. I was 2 years in a hospital bed in my own home. I couldn't turn over myself. 4 years in a wheelchair. I had braces on both my legs, my hips, my ankles, and that was progress. Thank God today I'm able to be vertical and ambulatory with the help of a 7-foot walking one. So I'm a triped, not a biped. I still can't walk up a stair by myself. I can't walk up a curb by myself. And I've helped 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you hear my voice. Positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. It's all because of one word. Smile. Seeing miracles in life every day. I got to tell you a quick story. My 8-year-old niece comes over to me a few weeks ago. She says, Uncle Barry, can we spell smile? S-M-I-E-L? I thought about it. Smile. Why not? Why? I asked her. She says, because then it would stand for seeing miracles in everyday life. Out of the mouth of an 8-year-old. But what was she doing? She was creating the kind of world she wants to live in. Now, CREATE is a fabulous acronym that stands for causing, rethinking, enabling all to excel. And that's what we're going to talk about with David. Rethinking, we call it a shift in perspective. Now, I got to tell you, I'm working with people for more than 42 years. 97.2% of all people I work with, they drop the F in shift and the other stuff happens. So you got to be effing careful with your Fs. Shift perspective. When you do that, you'll understand these 6 words. 6 most important words you can internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life. And they are choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. So I want to warn everybody in advance, I'm even going to warn David, that I do use a lot of 4-letter words. I even use the 4-letter FU word. I do it for the shock value and it's fun. Now, of course, the 4-letter words that we use, because we live in the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, are love, life, hope, free, grow, gift, play, pray, swim. And the 4-letter FU word is fun. Fun, yes. F-U, capital N. Now, right away, some people raise their hand and say, hey, Barry Shore, fun's only spelled with 3 letters. Not in our world, the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. So after the show, when you see your family and friends, point your finger, have a smile on your face and say, F you, everybody. But you got to add right away, capital N, and say, where'd you get that? I said, I listen to Barry Shore, the Joy of Living podcast. He wants to teach the world to F you, capital N, capital N. So before we bring on David, I'm going to ask everybody to do the following. I want you to use the 2 most powerful words in the English language 3 times a day from now and the rest of your life. And you know why? Because it will enable you to be happier, healthier, and wealthier. So imagine you go to the coffee shop, you order your fancy latte, you sit down, somebody brings it to you. You say, thank you. You go to the coffee shop, you order your fancy latte. A few minutes go by, nobody brings it. Go to the kind say, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot, we're busy. We'll bring it to you. Sit down, a couple of minutes, somebody brings it. You still say, thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop and it's raining out. Somebody holds the door open for you. You say, thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop, it's raining, and somebody slams the door on you. You say, thank you. You're in traffic, you're late for an appointment, somebody cuts you off. You say, thank you. Get up in the middle of the night and you stub your toe and it hurts. You say, thank you. To harmonize and nurture kindness. Kindness is a great word that stands for keep inspiring noble deeds. I can't think of anybody I'd like to share with you right now that inspires noble deeds more than wonderful David Abehsera. David, please say to the 364,819 people around the world.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me, Barry. And thank you. You just said it so well. Thank you.
By the way, when was the last time somebody said F you to you and you smiled?
Not often.
Well, now you know what it means. F you, capital N, capital N. So we're going to jump right in. If I started reading to you everything that David has been able to accomplish in just half a century of life, it would take the rest of the show. So I won't do that. I will mention to you 2 things, though, because I think they're indicative of what we're going to be discussing and why it's important, why you tune in. You always tune into the Joy of Living podcast because you know it's good for you. Make you happier, healthier, and wealthier. As I said, just go to www.whatawonderfulworld.barryshore.com. Everything about David is going to be there. So you don't have to take notes, you don't have to write it down. Just let it flow through you and around you. Experience this great being. Here are 2 things about him that are wonderful. He is a marketer and a problem solver. And by the way, they go hand in glove. You see, because when you're a marketer, you understand that it's all about relieving people's pain or finding something that people want and need. And that's what problem solving is from the point of view of the business. How do you solve the problem of, gee, everybody needs my widget? Well, maybe they don't. And what do you do about that? So let's just jump right in and ask David, wonderful David. I know that you love this idea of thinking big, dreaming big. And you tell it to me like this. You say, Barry, always dream big. Why?
All right. So this is how I look at life. It doesn't cost you anymore, especially when you don't have anything, to dream big, because it's the same thing, right? So the idea is, I think some people end up limiting themselves in life. They start thinking, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. But then they start thinking of all the reasons why maybe they can't get to the level that they want. But if you're dreaming, right? You're dreaming, why not just dream big? And if you dream big, right? If you dream really big, right? And you fail slightly, you're still way ahead of where you would have ever been. So I always look at it as, and I tell this, I try to do this not only for myself, but for employees, people around me, friends, even clients. How can we look at an opportunity and say, how do we make this really big? What do we have to do to bring this to a whole different scale? And what are the steps to get us there? And there's always a way. There's always a way to make it, to make it happen. And I think sometimes we're taught there's rules in life that inhibit us from doing great things. And unfortunately, I believe the school system sometimes puts those thoughts in our minds. So I think if you just are a free thinker, an open mind person, a person that believes in miracles, as you talk about, you could dream big and you will be able to achieve incredible things.
So let's talk about this. I am privileged to be the founder of something called the Keep Smiling movement. Now, the Keep Smiling movement is a wonderful blue card that reads Keep Smiling on the front and a lot of information about the value of a smile on the back. And we've been privileged to have numerous celebrities, world famous people holding the card and helping distribute. We've given over 4 million cards, plus a number of other what we call joy cards, inspirational cards. One of the cards reads, Dream Big! doing remarkable, exceptional, amazing manifestations. That's dream. And big is believe and giving. Now, I say this because I also say big stands for believe in God, and they're very similar. I would like to tell everybody that I have a deep personal feeling for David. And I just want to make mention because we call it in our world a recognition of the good. I owe a debt of gratitude, which is a way of calling, that's a dog, debt of gratitude, to David's father primarily and his mother, because not only did they dream big, but they accomplished big. I mean, really big, because they not only touched lives, they reformatted and shifted and changed lives that go on indefinitely, many thousands of people and generations of people at this point. So I owe David's family a big debt of gratitude because it was a big boost for me. I was already in a particular path, and his father, who was a remarkably gifted being, and now enabled that path, my path, to go on a rocket ship. So I owe David, but I know where David comes from. So when he's talking about dream big, it's part and parcel of his being. By the same token, I know that he also went to schools where unfortunately, schools do this, no matter which, even a religious school, they tend to give you a narrower focus in life, right, David? So yes. That even though you had big and you were vision, you were squelched a little bit, which is one of the reasons you left Brooklyn and such. But let's continue talking about dreaming big and things that you've been able to do, not just for yourself and your family, but for clients. And I don't mind if you name drop, by the way. I mean, I want you to name drop because part of that has to do with bona fides, and part of that has to do with understanding that when you're working with, pick a name, a Google or a Home Depot or a Starbucks, that you were able to work with them because they understood that you brought them something that was just not readily available. You were an outsider coming in and stirring things up. So let's talk about that. Drop some names and tell us some incidents of what happened that you were able to use your big ideas to help even the big guys or girls.
All right. So let me go back a little bit. Let's start with kind of my youth. So I was lucky to have parents who were, I think, probably the earliest people I know to tell kids, don't go to college unless you know why you're going to college, because you're going to waste your time. And the good news is that didn't have a problem partying in life. So I wasn't going to go to college to party. And I would advise anybody, if you're going to school to party, it's a really bad way to pick up a lot of debt. You could probably spend a lot less just partying every night after work. And, it's a better way to go. But, my parents taught us, listen, you guys, just follow your path, be passionate about things, and, things will happen. And my best education I had was in my house. And you know this because you were there, right? Just sitting around my table on a Friday night, a Saturday, or many other nights of the week, we had the most interesting people, some of the most famous people, some of the most, humble people that you would never know, how incredible they were behind the scenes. And I got to sit on the table, under the table, wherever, depending what age I was, and listen and learn. And it made me realize that there was so much more to the world. So following this path, this path that they tell you, do these steps to get there, I realized there was a faster way to get things if you just focused on what you cared about. So I had an interesting path. I personally never did college. I started college and I realized, kind of like Steve Jobs said, I'd rather just go take classes for the things I want to learn and then go on the job and learn those things, and versus taking the long route. So I was able to do that. And, this is a long way to say that I had I believed in what I call, process of elimination. So if you try a lot of different things, a lot of different jobs, you think, listen, I'm a great sales guy, I'm a personable person, I have these skill sets. I realized that if you have this process of elimination and do it very quickly, you'll find where you really should be. And, one of the things I realized, and this is probably what made me a bad student, I would say, in those Jewish schools where they were trying to get me to focus, was I was probably ADHD before they, told people you were ADHD.
Before the alphabet soup existed. He was one.
Exactly. So I was, a lot of energy, couldn't focus for hours on boring teachers or subjects. That was if you were a good teacher, I loved you, right? And the point being, I realized that, when I had friends in businesses, my father had friends in the house that were in business, I couldn't imagine myself doing the same thing for the rest of my life. I had a really hard time believing that I would want to, like I joke, my friends, they sell socks, right? So I was like, how do you sell socks every day? They're like, oh, different colors. I'm like, but it's a sock, right? Oh, different license. I'm like, it's still a sock, right? So, my thing was, I love to learn new things. I was in a house that I caught to learn all the time. So I found myself somehow in advertising by accident, met a mentor when I was in Los Angeles, age of 19, and he gave me the chance of a lifetime. This was David Suissa. I don't know if you know him. And he gave me a shot at being a paid intern. But what it showed me was that you could be in a business that every single month you have to learn, literally you have to become the best in that business, understand the competition, and then tell them what you think would be a big idea. Let's dream big together, come up with an idea that's going to help you succeed at a bigger level. And, the challenge of that, the excitement of that is what made me just fall in love with advertising. And short form content, right? 30 seconds, 60 seconds. We don't have to worry about books and, anything that's too lengthy. So that was one of the reasons I fell in love with it. So, just to speed ahead, I started as a kid. I went after clients that were local, and I got to, early in my career, Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf was a client that I worked with. Later, Winchell's Donuts was a client. We took on all their locations as agency of record. I was able to move my way up and not only do local advertising or national advertising, like LA Fitness was a client that I helped take from 30 locations to 750 plus, and working with them on and off for many, many years, close relationship. And it's always about, coming up with what's the strategy for us to help you succeed? Early days, it was literally, we're going to market 3 to 5 miles radius around each location and get people to come in and do it with whatever tactic we have. Later it goes digital, social, content, right? You have to constantly evolve. But, I was able to work with tech companies that were global, like Lenovo, Intel, Microsoft. I can go through, Samsung. I can go through a big list, LG. And, what that is all about is how you have to quickly understand what they're doing, the products they have, who they're talking to, and then you come up with really creative ways for us to tell the story and bring it to people in a much more emotional way. So when you dream big, if you could bring in a celebrity, right? If you could bring in somebody, we were the first company to help Intel do an urban youth campaign and work with the biggest pop artist on the charts, Sean Kingston at the time, and create an actual song where we got paid for years rights for creating the song called "Gotta Move Faster." And it was really just a day in the life of an artist and what he uses technology for, because he was really 17 years old using technology, and showed kind of how Intel was so important, just being part of the thread of this music video.
Let me put you on pause for a moment, because you are flowing and wonderful and creative. I want to unpack a few things for the audience. You mentioned about the word creative, and we talked before about create. Create is a wonderful acronym. Again, causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. So when you're going and talking with a client and giving them opportunity, what we call ideas and stuff like that, what you're doing is you're enabling them to shift their perspective, maybe just a little bit, because you're creative. You see, one of the things that I love about David is, in addition to the fact that he's worked with some really major people, David Suissa, by the way, is a remarkably important person in the Los Angeles scene. Not only was he successful and made good money, but he's an influential being in his community and such. So he's always done things that are positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. I just want to make mention about you, and you said when you were in college about the idea of sort of the process of elimination. So you said it truly and almost tongue-in-cheek, but it's actually the scientific method. So if you have, when I was going to school, we used to do this. I was much younger than I am now. You got a cigar box. A cigar box. Anyway, call it a box that was sealed and something was in it. And you had to figure out what was in it without opening the box. So the scientific method is you first discover what it isn't. It's not a liquid. It's not that. That's called the process of elimination. So you actually used the scientific method to determine where you wanted to be, what groove, what lane you wanted to go into. And I think you mentioned something that is truly, unfortunately, lacking in most homes today, and that is the ability to sit with family and friends in a particular setting, whether it's Friday night, Saturday, it doesn't matter the time, and listen and learn. See, the ability to listen is the greatest skill. We're all fast talkers because we're in the sales business, but we know that we're fast talkers because we've been listening deeply, and we want to share, give over what we have. Now, share, by the way, stands for spreading happiness and rejuvenating energy. And that's what you do. So, as I said, I'd like you to speak to some names. You mentioned LA Fitness, but think of one particular name of a company that you worked with and just give us a taste of how you were able to, let's say, interact with that name and show them something that they didn't think about that you did that actually became a winner for them. Can you think of one?
So I'll give you a good example. Many years ago, I started with Lenovo. They were, before anybody knew them, they were a company out of China that bought ThinkPad, IBM ThinkPad. And, by ThinkPad, you now own the business market, but they didn't really understand consumers. So they had another line called IdeaPad, which was not really known, not exciting. And they were really stuck in the competing on price category. So they were
Which, by the way,
at the bottom. They were at the bottom, and they were like, "Hey,
just to put things in perspective, if you are a business and you compete on price, you're asking to go out of business." Exactly. Because it's just a race to the bottom, and that's what you do. You get bottom feeders. So what David does, and the ability of being creative and dreaming big and thinking big, is that cause that shift. Remember, the F in shift is important because the other stuff happens. You got to shift for perspective and enable him to tell them, well, you don't want to be there, do you? And they said, no. What do we do? Okay, now give us what Lenovo.
Exactly. Okay, so you have this company. They have a brand called IdeaPad. Nobody's really buying it. It's not really exciting. And the problem was, listen, they're a Chinese company with an American office in North Carolina, in Raleigh, and they had very talented people, but everybody had their little silos that they were working in. So even with a big company, you have a lot of people. And this is a long time ago. Now they're an incredible company, and we were lucky enough to work with them for 13 plus years. But you have all these people doing their thing. They're doing their part. Most of them came from ThinkPad in the past, more B2B. Consumer wasn't their thing. So, what we started to do is realize we had an opportunity to kind of educate them slowly and get them to start with small budgets, but then grow their budgets so that we could show impact. So at first we would do simple things, create content, target college kids, whatever, something simple in banners, right? And it was more like, hey, how do we make it feel like MTV Cribs, where they're kind of showing you their college room and they're redesigning their room around their passion. So if I'm a DJ, created a DJ room and the laptop is in the center of everything, right? But, the point is we would do these fun little things. It was very inexpensive. We had a lot of fun with it. But the idea is we showed them that change your perspective, like you said, think of an audience and how do you talk to them emotionally. But then the key was we spent a lot of time looking at and realizing that there's different people in the company working on the same projects, the same product launches, but not really talking to each other because they had different jobs, right? This person is CRM, email. This person is in charge of some digital. This person is in charge of, whatever it is. But we started to realize, listen, they don't think they have a budget to do anything big because they are not combining their budget. So what we started to do is go out, meet them, become friends with everybody. And I think that's part of it. It's not only sales is not just sales. Sales is really befriending people, getting them to open up, and then changing their perspective by saying, hey, by the way, you don't know Bob over there, but Bob has a budget of this amount, and he's doing this on the same product. And Steve and Lisa, and you start to get all these budgets, put them together, and you say, listen, let's try to do something much bigger. Let's go to the next level. And and we were able to do incredible programs over the years. Give you one example. They were launching a tablet, and I'm trying to give you like more challenging examples. They were launching a tablet, right? iPad was out recently. You can't compete with iPad, right? iPad's doing extremely well. HP at the time tries to launch their own tablet, fails miserably, and right afterwards they tell us we got to go out with a tablet, and we were like, it's really bad timing. It's not a good idea, but we have to do it, right? So we came up with this incredible idea, which was, okay, let's find out who would use a tablet. What is a tablet good for? It's great when you probably will have a tablet as a second device, but it's going to be great as a travel companion. It's going to be great to do certain things. So let's figure out how to reach travelers with this offering and let them know what they could do on this tablet and how they could have some fun. So we basically came up with this crazy idea, which was we're gonna get a comedian who's crazy enough to try to win the world record for visiting the most airports in 1 month, and he's gonna only take his tablet with him and his carry-on bag. He ended up taking his cute little dog as well, and he's gonna go place to place, and he's gonna win this world record, but show that he has this powerful tablet. And their campaign at the time from their global agency was for those who do. So this guy was a real doer. He was going to go around the United States, the most airports, and win this world record. But while he's doing it, he's doing stand-up comedy on the planes. He's doing it in the airport. He's gonna have a lot of fun with this thing, and we're creating content the entire time on the tablet to show how powerful this thing is. Then we went out. We didn't have a big budget, but we had to make it seem like we had a much bigger budget. So we go out and I reach out to Southwest Airlines and I say, listen, you guys are all about comedy. Why don't you give us access to your planes? Let us fly on your planes everywhere, because also they do the shortest route, so we could win this record easily. Because in one day he could do 4 flights versus somewhere else he could do maybe 1 or 2, right? So, anyways, they love the idea of Southwest. So again, it's one of those things where just a good idea gives us access to a budget that we can't afford to pay for. We can't pay for all these flights. We don't have access to their ballparks. They sponsor big, sports teams. SeaWorld, they're sponsoring all these huge things. And they were like, we love the idea of your comedian going out and just grabbing the mic and having some fun. And it gave us a ton of attention. So we ended up doing this program that was not the biggest budget, but got the most attention. The point of this program was they weren't planning to really sell a lot of those tablets. They were planning to make a statement that they make tablets. Their next design, 6 months later, was the real one. So they said, we just need the world to talk about us, and then we're going to come back with the next one and we'll do the next thing. And it was just an incredible thing. The guy, he won the world record. It got a ton of attention. The way we got a ton of attention that was free, essentially, is in the end of this thing, we would have different people from different news outlets or publications fly with him for an hour or two and interview him or do video interviews with him on the plane so they could, be part of the journey. So anyways, that's just one example of don't have a big budget, everybody to combine their budget. Tough situation.
First of all, I love it. What a high note. Well, we're going to pause here because we have sponsors that love the show. We urge you to go and utilize the products and services of our sponsors. They're wonderful. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Don't go away because David is so engaging and he got our attention and he's breaking world records and doing wonderful things. And he's here to serve you. Remember, it's all about you, not about David, not about Barry. It's about you. So we'll be right back after these brief messages. Don't go away. Imagine the kind of place you would want to shop for your favorite fur baby pet. HonestPets.co. Well, you found it. HonestPets.co, not .com, .co. This is your go-to spot for the best, the cleanest pet treats that exist anywhere on the planet. All of the brands go through a rigorous review to make sure they meet the high standards of cleanliness, health benefits, and naturalness. This site was started by a husband and wife team, and it's veteran-owned, and that care about pets, especially dogs and cats, and coming soon, bird treats. These are very nice young people who really care about making a difference because a portion of proceeds go to support veteran organizations with a focus on service dogs. This is the place where you want to go. You want to tell your friends this has the finest, yummiest, freshest, all-natural treats and stuff for your fur baby. So go there, honestpets.co. honestpets.co. Do it now. Opportunity. What an opportunity. I'm going to use 2 4-letter words right now. Free gift. Free gift. Yes, you can have a copy of my best-selling book, The Joy of Living, How to Slay Stress and Be Happy, the ebook version for absolutely free. All you have to do is send an email to me, Barry, Barry, at barryshore.com. And in the heading, the subject line, just write free gift. It's as easy as that. This is a life-changing, life-enhancing opportunity. Barry at barryshore.com. You'll be glad you did. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Free gift. Do it now. Take the action. Make it happen right now. Best wishes. Bye. Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking, so always looking for and finding the good. We found good in abundance. Our cup runneth over with good. And his name is David Abehsera. He's a 2-legged dynamo who is bringing not only smarts to the world, but solving problems, doing wonderful things. Just heard a great story. By the way, I just want to make mention again, just go to my website, www.barryshore.com. What a wonderful world, barryshore.com. Everything about David, what he does is going to be there, and you can enjoy him and take a look at who he is, what he is, and how you can access him. His new company called Nouvel, NOOVEL.com. And by the way, if I'm not mistaken.
.co.
Oh, yeah. Don't listen to what I said about .com. NOOVEL.com. But again, you don't have to listen just because you're going to go to the show notes. It'll be all there. By the way, David, you ready for this?
Yes.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, NOOVEL, if you rearrange those letters, guess what word it spells? Lenovo.
Love on?
Lenovo.
Yes, it does spell Lenovo as well. And that was an afterthought, by the way. That was the crazy thing.
It doesn't matter. But aren't you glad I listened and learned and heard it? Okay. We were talking before about sales, and it's about getting to know people and such like that. I want to make mention of something really important. Sales is built upon an acronym that we call KILT. Now, KILT, of course, is something that the Scottish people wear, Scottish men. KILT stands for KLT, get to know somebody, get to like them, then you can trust them. But you can't go directly from, hey, if I got a deal for you and trust me. It doesn't work that way. You have to get to know somebody, the
Yeah.
system, what's going on, get to like them and make sure that they like you. There's a reciprocity there. Then you possibly get into trust, because you can't create a sale, which is two beings or two organizations exchanging not just money, but transformation. Everybody wants to make sure that both transactional and transformational for each other, that there's benefit there. And that only comes with trust. So let's talk about the idea that you've already posited. I want to go deeper into it, about never being comfortable with the status quo. Matter of fact, in my best-selling book, which is now over 25,000 copies, called The Joy of Living, you deserve it. One of the 11 strategies for learning how to live in joy daily. One of the strategies is get uncomfortable, because it's comfort zone is where dreams go to die. So talk to us about never being comfortable with the status quo. I know that is you epitomize it, but give us an example. Take one of your brands that you worked with and give us an example if you could.
Well, I think it goes across the board in life. It's a challenge. Listen, anytime you're sitting stagnant and you're not moving, it's like a shark. If you put a shark and you stop him, he's going to die. And the world we live in moves so quickly, especially today. If you're not constantly thinking about, okay, my business is here now. Where is everything going? If I look ahead 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, where will I be if I don't change, if I don't adjust? And I'll give you an example in our world. So as an agency, when we started, we were, kids, and we were local, and we were good at doing certain things, but we had to learn how to get better, stronger, faster. And in the early days, again, I'm old enough where I was in the world before there was the internet. So, we were doing TV spots, radio, billboards, newspaper ads, direct mail, right? That was everything. And everybody was like, oh, this is so hard. This is amazing, right? And then we realized that then, if we didn't become digital very quickly, if we didn't shift our whole focus to digital, it would be done. To the point that I would sit internally with my teams and I said, you know what? We're going to stop to pitch TV spots. We're going to pitch video content for the web. And they all told me, you're out of your mind, because if you know the advertising world, TV spots is everything. That is like the Mac Daddy. You're doing TV spots, you've made it, right? Especially national TV spots. Oh my God. You now want to tell clients, yes, we could do that too, but that's not important. What's important is we do video content for the web, because that's where the world is going. Thank God we were right, but we could have been wrong. But point is, constantly not being comfortable, constantly thinking about where the world is going and how do you adapt and how do you help your clients adapt. So when you do something with them, like that Intel example I said earlier, we created a song with Sean Kingston, which never did the client Intel ever think that anybody would watch a 4.5-minute ad of theirs. It's not an ad, really a music video for a song, but they are the hero throughout the video without people realizing it. It has all the same things as a music video of a hip hop video, but they were the hero in the center. And they were like, how the heck are you going to get people to watch a 4.5-minute video? Well, because we're going to create content, and it's going to be a music video, and it's going to be awesome. And again, this was done a long time ago. Today, a lot more people do it. And, and we always tried to be at the forefront of that. So if you're not comfortable, if you're looking at where there's opportunity, and by the way, there's just also a smart strategy behind it. Hey, if I do a TV spot, I got to spend a ton of money in media to play the TV spot. If I do a music video with this artist, and then I do just PR to get him to go on a world tour, and they see the song, and people could win, backstage passes and sweat, merchandise and all this stuff. You're going to get millions of views without spending a penny. Just some of your PR, and it's a win-win situation for everybody. So it's always about, how do I change perspective? How do I look at this differently? If I'm not comfortable, I will find solutions. If I'm comfortable with the status quo, there's a lot of people that they're like, oh, I've achieved enough in my life. I just keep doing this, I'll cruise, I'll be fine. But we all know what happens to them. You're done. Well, that's what it is.
There's a great Steve Wozniak quote. It's only 3 words: evolve or evaporate.
100%.
Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple.
100%.
Evolve or evaporate. It's going to happen. If you don't, it's gone. You're over. You're toast.
I'll tell you, and this is something you'll appreciate, and obviously not all the listeners or viewers will know about it. But one of the things I really think, I thank my parents and my history for giving me the opportunity to study Talmud. Talmud is, it's a Jewish study, which is, essentially it's like law, where a bunch of rabbis are arguing over things, and you get to see every perspective in every situation, and it covers many topics. But what I loved about the topic was I watched how one subject could be argued 40, 50 ways. And it taught me in life, and maybe I wasn't the best student when I was learning it, but I learned how to use it for my own life, right? Which was, if you're in a situation, don't be so pompous to think that you have the one answer or the two answers, or the two you're talking about is the only two. There's probably 50 more you didn't think about. So what you have to do in every situation is first try to get all those angles, discuss them, debate them, and then decide which one you want to go in with. Because if you do that, then I think you really have a chance to do something different. And the other thing, when I say the status quo, I think a lot of times companies, they drink their own Kool-Aid. They start to think, what they say, we're the best, we've done all this stuff. But take yourself out of your company for a second and start to look at it from a different perspective. And you'll start to see that everybody says the same thing in your industry. They're all saying the same thing. So you have to stand out and be different. And you only do that by being uncomfortable and by saying, what could we do that's gonna stand out in this industry? And that's how you're gonna get to a good, new, exciting solution for yourself, for your customers, for your business, for anything.
And that's actually such a wonderful point, because it is about solutions, right? And by definition, if you try something new, say, wow, it's new, by definition doesn't mean it's going to work. But if it does, even a little bit, and it causes a shift, remember we talked about, you got to keep that F in place. If it causes a shift and you do stand out, well, you can't buy that kind of stuff. See, that's the genius. If you try to do it to stand out, you may not do it. But if you do something that is a shift in perspective, you'll stand out. And the result of that is the benefit that you want. That is what we call strategy, but that's making sure that you don't get comfortable, because comfort zone is where dreams go to die. I really enjoy, I said, not only your energy, but that of, I think a lot about your parents, especially your father, and what he did in terms of dreaming big, never getting comfortable, really always striving forward. He was a large thinker. Now, people don't know this, they don't have to necessarily, but I will make mention that your family name is an important name in the Jewish world and in the world of expansive thinking. I would like you to speak about something that you and I both internalize, utilize, and leverage in our life. And it's a very famous quote from one of the greatest distinctive rabbis of the past 100 years. And didn't say it in English, but we'll say it in English: think good and it will be good. In other words, your thoughts make a difference in the world. So let's speak about the idea of what you say, you can pull off anything. There's always a way. Is that true? In other words, is it really true that if you think good, it's going to be good?
Listen, well, the simplest example, they say, when you talk about skiing downhill, if you're focusing on the tree, when you ski downhill, you will hit the tree. You will definitely hit the tree. If you're focusing on, small, end results, you're going to hit those small end results. But if you think good, you think big, you have a chance to hit it, right? But if you really think and look at the path that it's going to take to get there, so don't just think like, oh yeah, I would love to get there, let me think about it. No, it's like, what are the steps to get there? And it goes much more than that. So to me, the think good and be good, it's in all areas of life: personal, challenges, health challenges, anything. We could change, I believe, by changing your mind frame. And this is what the Rebbe that you talked about, this is what he was all about. If you think good, it will be good. And I had the hardest time I had in life was having negative people around me, because all they tried to do was take that away from you. They said, you should be a realist. Let's look at really what could happen here. Let's I'll be your balance. I'll be the negative one and you'll be the positive one. No, I don't need the weight on my back. What we need to do is focus on, this is going to happen. My family thinks I'm crazy half the time, but we're It could be a situation, something happens, something scary. I say, this will be the result. This is what's going to happen. We're going to go there. We're going to go to the hospital, and this is what they're going to tell us. And everything's going to be great. And they go, how do you know? I said, because I know. Because it's going to be good. We're going to think good, and it's going to be good. And this is what's going to happen. And you know what?
It happens.
And it's, you talk about miracles. There's miracles every single day. And I think a lot of them come from positive thinking. Just, you're going to get there if you think positive. I mean, you know this better than anybody. You obviously have been through the worst situations, and I'm sure you kept a positive mind frame and you always thought good. You weren't sitting there thinking it's over, I'm done, take me out back. You were going, and it's an incredible thing.
And I'm happy to tell everybody, most people who've tuned in, they know the story and such, but not only was I paralyzed, couldn't move, of course, the doctor said, you're never going to walk again, and all that kind of stuff. Did I yell at them and say, you're wrong? No, I just kept my own counsel, but I knew whatever was going to be good. And to just give you a result, a few years later, I now swim 2 miles a day, 6 days a week. And I've been doing that for more than 17 years. And David, as of 3 weeks ago, I broke 9,000 miles of swimming.
Wow, that's amazing.
That is kind of amazing. That's going from where you are in Los Angeles over to New York, across the Mediterranean, through the Straits of Gibraltar, across the Mediterranean, up to Jerusalem, and then down to Mumbai. How's that?
That's insane.
That's by doing a little bit every day and just keep visualizing, keep moving forward, think about the results. The result, the same word result is the word luster. It means glowing and growing and such like that. And that's what David Abehsera brings to this world and what he does in business and such like that. That's why I pleaded with him to come on. This is his first podcast. He resisted many times, but he came on today, and as a favor to me, and I truly, truly appreciate it. And I'm so glad that I'm sharing you with the world, because you have a message that is important. What you just said now, I want to reiterate, is something that's really very important. People think that, well, if you have balance, you have your team, and the negative guy and the positive guy said that's all that's going to be beneficial. You said it, genius. No. That's not what's beneficial. It doesn't mean that everybody has to go, rah, rah, I love your idea, and that's the best thing in the world, we're going to go with you. Okay, you can have give and take. It's that argument you're talking about, finding 50 different ways not to leave your lover, but to create a lover. 50 ways to create a lover. That's what we're really talking about. So it's not looking for the negative. It's saying, what about this? What about that? Hey, wait a minute. Yeah, how about that? And keep building together. So you're right. When you were in your sort of lowest period, is because the beings around you were feeding negative ions. And the only time you need negative ions is when you go to the beach or in the forest after a rainstorm, and it gives you energy. That's where you want negative ions. Otherwise, no, you don't want those people in your life. We go for positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. I'm sorry to say for the moment that our time has come to a, not an end, but it's certainly come to a pass. So we have 3 questions that I ask of every guest. I'm going to ask them of you now. So are you ready, David, for 3 questions?
Yes. And
Okay.
I apologize, but there's a person blowing let me just, give me 10 seconds.
You get 11. By the way, it's always good when I want to show you how real the podcast is. You see, he says, wait a minute, I have somebody knocking at my door and I need to attend to it. So that's great.
I have a gardener that's blowing, like he didn't stop for I kept trying to go on mute so you didn't hear me, but I was like, was he going to come in the room?
No, it's all good. I was telling people this shows that show is real. It's not staged, and this is real life. Okay. So 3 quick questions, wonderful David. Number 1 question is, will you come back again?
Yes, for sure. I would love to. Listen, I have a great time with you. You talked about my dad. My parents were very interesting people, special people, and they had a lot of people like you around us. Great energy, ex-hippies. By the way, we had the biggest rock stars in the house. We had all kinds of people, and it just showed me that everybody are just people. So I love good conversation. You're a great person to talk to. So anytime.
Thank you. Next question. You ready?
Yes.
What is you have only 80 seconds to answer this.
Okay.
What is your most fervent desire?
My most fervent desire. That's a tough one. I personally strive to help lift up people around me. I try to help people figure out how to make money when they're not really good at it. So my desire is really to try to uplift anybody around me, to figure out how everybody themselves could do well, and that everybody has a purpose. Everybody has a way to do well. And I always want to figure out what is the way to help them help themselves. So that's my goal in life. If I could do that, I'd be happy.
Help somebody else help themselves. That is David Abehsera, and he's channeling his father and mother, who, again, I owe a great deal of gratitude, not just debt, gratitude, as do many thousands of people. If I told you stories about what his parents did and how they shifted their perspective, they moved from Binghamton, New York, where I met them there first, and then down into the bowels of Brooklyn, and created an entire movement that touched thousands and thousands of people in generations. It's quite amazing. Okay, and the third point is, quick question, may I give you a hug in front of 368,219 people around the, let me tell you what HUG stands for first. Ready? Yes. HUG stands for heartfelt, unlimited giving. Heartfelt, unlimited giving. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Amazing.
And of course, this is the Joy of Living podcast with your humble host, Barry Shore, and our wonderful, amazing guest, David Abehsera. And as I mentioned several times, this show is not about David, the great guy that he is, or even Barry, wonderful fellow. It's about you, YOU. It's about you becoming the best you so that you can make a difference in the world. Because remember, we work with the 3 fundamentals of life on this show. And these 3 fundamentals will enable you to be happier, healthier, and wealthier. Who doesn't want that? The first fundamental of life is your life has purpose. And when you lead a purpose-driven life, number 2 happens. Good number 2. You go MAD. Now, MAD is a wonderful acronym that stands for make a difference. And the third fundamental is to uncover the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms, such as WWW, what a wonderful world. Smile, seeing miracles in life every day. Or as my 8-year-old niece says, seeing miracles in everyday life. Create the kind of world you want to live in. As David says, positive, purposeful, powerful, pleasant people around you, with you, and serving you, serving them, and them serving you together to make the better world. And smile. Thank you. Thanks stands for to harmonize and nurture kindness. To harmonize and nurture kindness. Use the 6 most important words you can ever internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life. And we talked about them. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. How you choose to respond in any given situation will help you with the trajectory of life and the path in your life. And of course, use 4-letter words, because we live in the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. 4-letter words like love, hope, free, gift, play, pray, swim. And of course, tell the world to F you, capital N, capital N. So after the show, you see your family and friends, point your finger and tell everybody F you, capital N, capital N. Say, where'd you get that? So I listen to Barry Shore on the Joy of Living podcast, and he wants to teach the world to F you. And of course, a big blessing from David and Barry. And that blessing is, go forth, live exuberantly, spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference. David, don't go away.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Joy of Living podcast. Now that's another step towards your healthier, happier, and wealthier life. Never hesitate to do good in the world, no matter what the situation. Join us for another upbeat discussion next time at barryshore.com. And be sure to leave a rating and subscribe to the show to get more conversations like this. And remember to share it with your family and friends too. See you on the next episode.